is that I'm done with this world. I am wholeheartedly, with every fiber of my being, I am done here. I am checked out. I am disconnected. I am detached. I do not care about anything that this world is. I do not care about anything that this world has to offer. I'm uncomfortable being here because my spirit, when I mean I'm fully checked out, I am fully checked out. I am ready to go home to heaven. And I know that it's my spirit. My spirit is ready. I think in these last seconds, we are being called home. And that's why so many of us are just checked out from this world, because we know that our bridegroom is coming for his bride.
Hello everyone, I'm checking in from the land where it is always winter, and I can't really say never Christmas, because I could almost say it's more always winter and always Christmas, to make a slightly C.S. Lewis-esque joke, because even here in February, the Christmas decorations out in the public places are still up and going, so like the Christmas/New Year's decorations in this part of the world stay up a lot longer, so I guess it feels like it's always winter and kind of always Christmas. I digress. Anyway, I might be splicing together this video partially from a walk, and then also partially from somewhere where it's actually warm inside, because this might get a bit rough trying to concentrate and not fall down in the like 3 feet of snow I've got around me. So cheers. Anyway, I wanted to share a thought. About something that comes up quite often. I see a lot of like Christian isolationism. Could say Christian cowardice, but I won't be that mean. Isolationism, you see this sort of like the Anabaptist movements all the way back from the Reformation, but you also see this even in like the Reformed Protestant world, even lots evangelical world, this sort of extreme sort of pietistic isolationism. Let the world burn down. Go hide away in your churches where you've got correct doctrine and kind of keep it to yourself, etc. And I see a lot of kind of connection with the idea, right? Maybe we look and we hear that Abraham was a sojourner in a strange land, but also maybe from Paul, this idea that we have a heavenly citizenship. Our citizenship is not of this earth. But there's a catch to these passages that a lot of people breeze right by. The catch I'm referencing is really what would be understood by citizenship in the time that Paul's writing. I see a lot of tendencies to sort of rip biblical authors, especially Paul, just out of their historical context completely. Just sort of slap his writings, whether it be in Romans or Corinthians, just slap it on whatever current political or social situation we have right now, take it out of its context, and not see what he was addressing at the time. And so I think historically, especially in the West, I don't know, maybe you could make the case, there's one historian I was reading who made the case, it kind of comes from Augustine's City of God. There's this sort of inherent kind of dualism, Gnosticism maybe, in the West that sort of grows up, this sort of idea that there's sort of a line of separation, almost sort of like God's locked out of the creation. So maybe, you could say we're in the world, but we're not of the world. Our citizenship's not of this world. The whole world's just going to get destroyed and go away. It's not our place, right? When you have funerals so often, this kind of wording, we're going home, etc. But I do find this kind of clashes with a lot of sort of patristic and ancient Christian thinking of the new heavens and the new earth, right? It's not just that the world is destroyed and is going to be wiped out. There's a new creation, right? There's something transformative in Christ's death that's happening in the creation even now. He's working something new, right? So your work as a Christian in the world has meaning. It's not just this empty fill-in that you're doing, right? You go off and you have your job to make money, to live until you can die and go to where your real life is, right? No, it has meaning, right? The world will be reformed, right? There's going to be a new heavens and new earth. Not just nuclear annihilation of this earth and a whole new one from scratch. Potentially it's a recreation of the current existing world, a purifying, a making holy, right? And I think a lot of the problem, though, is when people look at Paul, they're misunderstanding what's going on, right? When our citizenship is of the heavenly Jerusalem, for example, right? Our citizenship is of God. You have to stop and think, what was Roman citizenship? Roman citizenship didn't mean that where you lived, you are now just this foreigner and you need to leave and go back to Rome. Rome and the concept of citizenship that was around in the New Testament was, it was a privilege imparted to people living outside of Rome, whereby in their new cities and places they went, they recreated these cities into sort of little mini Romes, right? It was an expansion of Roman power. So to be a Roman citizen with a foreign citizenship, right? This Roman citizenship meant an implicit task of spreading Romanness, Roman culture where you went, right? Making these new cities more like little Romes. And so when we think of this, when we think of this idea that we have a heavenly citizenship, Paul is not saying in his context that, therefore, cut yourself off, go leave, run away, do whatever, right? No, he gives a defense of the faith at Mars Hill. He travels all over the Roman world, right? Soon after the legalization of Christianity, right, you have the Roman gladiatorial games done away with, right? There's a movement of Christian, or should we say godly morality that does spread. Is it imperfect? Oh, of course. All sorts of terrible things that happen around the church as well in history. But there is a spreading of this. There's this implicit idea that Christianity is transforming the world. Your citizenship being of heaven, in the context that Paul is thinking of, is a charge, not an excuse to run away and hide. It is a charge, just like how Roman citizenship implies that you live up to your Romanness out in the world and you transform everything around you to be more Roman. Your heavenly citizenship is a charge to transform the place you work, right? Show the love of Christ in your workplace. Show it in your family. Show it in how you vote. Show it in how you help the poor. You're carrying forth your heavenly citizenship everywhere, right? You are transforming everything around you to be more like the heavenly city of which you are a citizen. Sorry, crazy sentence. In the same way, we have the passages about Abraham being a sojourner in a strange land. You can take this as sort of a dualistic, Gnostic, oh, be spiritual, don't give a flip, just be separated from everything around you and don't care, act a little bit Eastern mystic, I guess. Got these walking paths, but they have the park ranger type people do their little patrols, check on things. I occasionally have a random vehicle go down the path. Anyway, you can interpret this in an almost sort of Gnostic, dualistic way where you are separating yourself from the creation and say, well, see, he was a sojourner in a foreign land, right? Wasn't connected. But here's the catch. He went to the actual land that would be given to him. And yes, he only owned the land upon which Sarah was buried, right? It says. But, right, he built altars. He had the covenant made with him, between him and Yahweh, that God grants to him, right? He traveled in that land. And yes, that one little parcel of land he got was still a first step, right? He is laying the groundwork for the fulfillment of God's promises. Now, he's doing it through God's guidance. God is laying the groundwork through Abraham, but still, the point being is, it's not this completely separated thing. It is a working towards it. It is a moving in that direction, right? And so we are looking at a future new earth, new heavens and new earth. God is transforming the world through the work of Christ. We don't know how that looks, but we do know our command is to live with all things under the lordship of Christ in our minds, in our hearts, in our families, in our workplaces, how we vote. All of our lives are supposed to be in submission to Christ. We don't know how it's going to necessarily work out, but he is transforming the world Who knows? Maybe that will mean an entirely new world, or it might mean that someday this very world is the one that's transformed after the final judgment. I don't know. But the commandment is there. Abraham was not a transcendent pietist, just leaving the world and not caring, right? He was following what God said, traveling to concrete, real places in expectation that God's promises would be fulfilled. He was working according to God's direction in the very early stages of the fulfillment of the laying out of those promises in the expectation that they would be fulfilled. His life was concretely following God. And so I find it almost an affront when people use, this idea of Abraham as a sojourner in a foreign land to almost justify this Christian dereliction of duty, almost this kind of pietism where, we're the frozen chosen, we live apart by ourselves, don't really care. No, all of the world is God's creation. The Great Commission implies, right, a going out and seeing all of the world transformed to Christ. It is not a strictly sort of spiritual thing where we just have our own spiritual little lives here that doesn't affect us living according to Christ, us sharing the word of Christ with those around us supporting our churches, us, yes, voting as Christians even, all of these things, right? It is supposed to transform everything around us, right? The Great Commission is given with the words that all authority in heaven and earth has been given unto Christ, right? That is why the Great Commission can go forward. The authority has been given there. He is transforming the world, right? Just as Abraham worked with the expectation that the promises were being fulfilled, right? They were concrete promises. He was going into the land, right? Our citizenship as well is not an excuse to then go and act as though Christ doesn't have anything to do with this world. He doesn't have any authority. No. The Great Commission is built on the assumption that he has been given all authority and is a command that since our citizenship flows from heaven, we are to carry forth heaven's citizenship unto the world, just like Roman citizens were expected to go and build up cities to be outposts of Rome where they went. I was reading a book recently on the history of Spain, and these ancient cities being built up where there'd be Roman citizens there who were, creating the forums and the theaters and all these different things, right? These people with Roman citizenship were being expected to turn, ancient Spain under Roman imperial rule into an extension of Rome. That was what their citizenship meant in that context, in the time that Paul is writing. Not an excuse to say, well, just don't care, or I have to turn inward into my exclusively inward spirituality. No, all of you is under the control of Christ. Your inside and your outside, right? Your inner life is Christ, your outer life is Christ, your family is Christ, all of it is. Anyway, that is my rant for the day about Christian isolationism. I'm going to sign off now and go back to appreciating the wonders of creation out here on this day. Finally getting more snow. We're under 2-3 feet of snow already, and now we're just adding even more, which is amazing. All right, God bless.